How's it going, people? Tactard Ted. Yes, it's Tactard Ted back at you after a couple weeks of taking a vacation. I kind of got busy with life, those things that you have to do all the fun shit you want to do. So where are we today? Well, looks like we're at four and a half months now of maybe even longer, Russia losing the war in Ukraine. Yes, they're losing the war in Ukraine. They lost every single day. They're running out of supplies. They don't have a pot to piss in. They don't have rations for their troops. They don't have oil to move their troops around the battlefield. They don't have artillery rounds to blast the living daylights out of the Ukrainian army like they've been doing this entire time. They don't have the long-range weapons to attack places like Odessa or Kiev or Lvov like they've been doing the whole time. They don't have an air force that is achieving air superiority as they've been doing the entire time. No. And other than like Kherson, Mariupol, the good portions of the Donetsk People's Republic, the entirety of the Lugansk People's Republic, the Russians are going nowhere. And I mean, just look at the Ukrainian accomplishments. Well, they've accomplished the task of recapturing the major cities of, well, hey, don't let that bother you. Don't let that bother you, because we're giving them all the HIMARS, yes, the wonder weapons that will defend Ukraine and bring the Russians to their knees. It doesn't matter that before the war, they had many more SMERSH, multiple rocket launch systems that were Soviet in origin, that they had trained with, that they understood, and actually fire more missiles than the HIMARS. But don't let that bother you. Don't let that bother you. I mean, that's just minor. I do see that the Russians, the Russian people, they're finally mad at Putin. Yes, they are. We've been waiting for the sanctions to make the Russian people mad, and it has. Unfortunately, what they're mad about is not that Putin has a war in Ukraine. The fact that they're mad about is the fact that Putin is still selling gas or oil to Europe. Yes, the Russians want to cut off Europe. They want to cut off oil to anybody who's giving them shit. Isn't that interesting, folks? Oh my, the Russians are mad, but they were mad before that. They were mad that it took Putin 8 years to go into Ukraine. That seems to be what they were most upset about. So yeah, we finally got the Russians mad at Putin. They want Putin to get tougher. Isn't that kind of a backfire? And as we've seen, the Ukrainians are losing everywhere. And I keep hearing the same shit. I've tried to explain it to some of you folks. It's taking the Russians too long. Well, they're cracking defenses that the Ukrainians have built up in their civil war over 8 years, especially in and around Donetsk. The Russians are methodically shelling the living daylights out of those sites. They're putting them under intense pressure. And when they crack, they move forward and make gains. The Russians, at least one unit in the last week, Ukrainian, I'm wanting to say it's the 83rd Mechanized Brigade. I might be wrong on that. I noticed over the weekend that those guys had left the battlefield without permission. In other words, they were getting such heavy artillery dropped on them that they could not withstand mentally the pressure that was being exerted on them by the Russian army. So they fled the field. That doesn't bode well, folks, because that sort of nonsense, when it happens, is contagious. What happens is the guys say, hey, I'm out of here. And the guys next door say, hey, look, those guys are out of here, man. They were getting the daylights knocked out of them. This isn't fun getting the Russians knocking the daylights out of me. I want to leave. I want to leave now. And that's what happens. They leave now. And everyone else wants to get out of Dodge, because nobody wants to be those guys that end up sitting there getting the daylights knocked out of them while everybody else runs off to live. So we have that going on. And like I say, I see that the Germans are now selling a 300 kilometer multiple rocket launch system to Ukraine. And that's going to enable them to hit Russian territory. And really, folks, I think what you need to understand is the Russians up until now haven't really been knocking the living daylights out of Kiev for a couple of reasons. Number one, they see no reason to destroy the city. Number two, they would like to have Zelensky alive, because at the end of all this, Zelensky is going to have to sign the surrender. That keeps it legitimate when the duly installed whatever of the Ukrainian corrupt regime signs off the surrender. Then it's over, it's done with, and there's not a whole lot of complaining. But if Zelensky is gone, missing, dead, and flees the country, they can always claim that there is a government in exile, and that'll make it a little more messy for Russia. But there's going to come a time when Russia's going to have to probably say, fuck it. Let's take out Zelensky. Let's decapitate everything. And once they do that, it's going to be a little tougher, because there will be a definite power vacuum. There will be civil war. There will be all sorts of confusion. The nationalist organizations that don't get along might suddenly see this as a chance to vie for power. And it's going to be messy, but I think at some point the Russians are just going to have to say fuck it and take it all. And they will. And there isn't a damn thing NATO can do about it. Nor is there a damn thing NATO is going to do about it. Yeah. That's just where we're at with all this. People are overextending themselves. They've overfigured all this. They think that they've got a clue on it, and they don't. And what's going to happen is we're going to see all of Ukraine get swallowed, and the poison pill that we've given these folks, and we don't even understand it in the rest, because we're all about sound bites. We're all about, we're all about the appearance of having done something. We're not doing anything. In fact, I'll be honest with you, what we've done is we've hurt them. We have given the Ukrainians multiple, many types of weapon systems with almost no training to use, and we send them out on the field and they get bloated up. The Russians find them, they fix them, and they destroy them. And you can see that with the HIMARS. Over a third of the HIMARS that we've sent are now trash. And there's even a fairly credible report that a Ukrainian general who likes Russian rubles sold a HIMARS system to the Russians, and it's now being checked on, taken apart, dissected, and is going to be a new prized possession to figure out how to exploit these. This is the problem with giving away our new stuff. You know, we give away the HIMARS, which is fairly new. We also gave away the M777s, which were older stuff that were designed for a different war, a war in Afghanistan, where we had superiority of the air, we had superiority of fire. We put these things on a base and left them. In Ukraine, they don't have fire superiority, they don't have air superiority, and they don't have training with them. It takes a lot of time to train troops. The training is putting them behind. And instead of deploying HIMARS with an experienced crew, you're taking the HIMARS out there and you're putting them out. Now, the Russians are claiming, and this is just claiming, I don't necessarily believe it because it would be taking a very dangerous step, but the Russians are claiming that the HIMARS are now being manned by NATO crews, primarily American. And if that's the case, and they were to get captured on the battlefield, let's say Russian special forces go in and snag somebody, that's going to be a huge flashpoint. You want to see things get complicated in a hurry, it'll get complicated. I don't believe that NATO is stupid enough to do that, but then again, I don't doubt it. This is Soviet 1980s nonsense in reverse. The Soviets used to put advisors everywhere. And it looks to me as though we've put advisors everywhere. And we're letting them run some things. The Soviets, let's face it, the guy who shot down John McCain was a Russian air defense guy. Happened to be in and around Hanoi. Seen interviews with the guy. He brags about it. His battery is the one that shot down McCain. Now, if we're doing the same sort of thing, that goes to be a problem, because we always used to condemn the Soviet Union for doing those things, and now we're engaging in that. If you're going to copy what the other guy does, and you suddenly make that your big deal, then you got issues. What happened to us being the good guys? What happened to us having the moral high ground? Apparently, that doesn't mean anything anymore. That might be why a lot of veterans are a little bit disgruntled with the current administration, the current way things are going. And another thing that makes veterans a little disgruntled, now all of a sudden, we're declaring that 2 retirees in Florida were Soviet spies. They've been living under assumed names since 88, 87. Assumed names. And that these people were probably spying for the Soviet Union. And they probably were still spying for Russia. Now, as interesting as all that is, how come we didn't catch it until now? Over 40 years, going on 40 years, and we didn't catch that. Wow. So our intelligence services are that great. I submit that I think they knew exactly who these people were, knew exactly what they were into, and they were saving them. They were saving them for a rainy day. And probably they weren't doing anything damaging. It's just a time to whip them out and make political hay over. Now, I believe the Russians probably do the same thing. They know who the dirty actors are inside Russia, and they go and arrest them, when they need to, or they find some dirt that they've got on them. But I want you guys, everybody's asking, well, how far are these Soviet guys penetrate? Well, there's no Soviet Union. If they're working for Russia, then they need to be treated like spies. But I also want to know why we haven't done anything before this. Why is our intel people so bad at their jobs that they couldn't catch these guys before? That's the real question. Everybody else is astounded. Oh, these guys may have had ties to Russia. They may have been this. They may have been that. What I'm upset about? I'm upset about you haven't done anything about it. How did it take you this long till these folks are retired to catch them? These folks are in their 60s. You guys let this fly? Are you for real? Hey, it's a good thing that these guys didn't go protest on January 6th, because you guys would be all over them. But no, they had security clearances, this, that, and the other. That's another reason I have an issue with the security clearance deal. We let people in who turn around and give everything away. Bradley Manning is a good example of that. And then we have other people, like these folks, who were living under an assumed name, and we didn't catch that. How did we not catch that? How did that not register? Yet you're going to throw other people out because, well, they may have made the mistake and did a few things when they were younger, but they're good, loyal Americans. I know one guy right now was supposed to get a security clearance. Good guy, straight up. Couldn't get the clearance. He ended up losing his job. A good job. Good kid. But he didn't meet that criteria, but yet we got Boris and Natasha here, if they really are spies, out there just going to town, doing all sorts of nefarious shit in the name of another government, and we can't catch it. Isn't that special? Isn't that special? Anyhow, guys, that's all Tactard has for today. Hopefully I'll get this damn mount for my phone figured out, because I haven't used it in a few weeks, and now it's doing all sorts of funky shit, so probably need a new one. Anyhow, adios.